Motivation feels good. It's the rush, the spark, the high energy that gets you started. But here's the truth nobody wants to admit. Motivation fades. It burns out. It disappears when life gets inconvenient. When you are tired, when you are stressed, when you are overwhelmed, that's when motivation goes missing. And that is exactly why discipline wins. Discipline is not a feeling, it is a decision. It does not wait for the perfect moment. It creates the moment. Motivation says, I feel like it. Discipline says, I will do it anyway. Master the craft. They did not rely on hype. They relied on systems, on structure, on consistency. And that consistency did not come from feeling inspired. It came from being committed. And from that repetition, you build mental strength. You stop being a slave to feelings and start becoming the architect of your results. They chase the high. But when the high fades, they stop. They start over, again and again. Discipline breaks that cycle. It brings stability to your progress, direction to your energy, order to your chaos. And that single mindset shift changes everything. Because anyone can act when it is easy. Very few can act when it is not. That's the separation. That's the advantage. Look at the people who actually get results. The ones who lose the weight, build the business, write the book. But their discipline is bigger than their excuses. They do not wait to feel ready. They act ready, and that action builds momentum. Momentum that motivation alone could never sustain. Discipline is the force that carries you through the days when your mood says stop. It is what gets you to the gym when you would rather rest. What helps you stick to your word when nobody is watching? What keeps you aligned with your vision, even when the world is throwing distractions in every direction? Motivation is emotional. Discipline is behavioral. And when you live by behavior instead of emotion, you build something rare. You build reliability. You build trust with yourself. That trust is the foundation of self-confidence. You know you will show up not because you feel like it, but because that is who you are. You replace the need for motivation with a system that works regardless of how you feel. You make your actions non-negotiable. You schedule them, you honor them. And over time, they become your new baseline. Think of the most productive people you know. They have tough days too. They have doubts. People ask, how do you stay motivated? The answer is, you do not. Discipline rewires your identity. It tells your mind this is what we do now, not when it is convenient. Not when it feels exciting, but always. Most people fail not because they lack motivation, but because they never learned how to keep going without it. You do not have to feel powerful to do powerful things. You just have to do them. That's the beauty of discipline. It does not require mood. It only requires decision. And the more decisions you make in alignment with your goals, the less you need to rely on external motivation at all. Discipline gives you freedom. Freedom from procrastination. Freedom from inconsistency. Freedom from regret. When no one is cheering because you are not chasing hype. You are building legacy. And legacy does not depend on mood swings. Because the more disciplined you become, the fewer apologies you owe to yourself. You stop making promises you cannot keep. You start building a history of follow-through. Not because it is easy, but because it matters. It is not about being perfect. It is about being persistent, about showing up when it is hard, when it is boring. That is why discipline beats motivation every time. Because it is steady. Create a routine so solid that it carries you through the days your mind wants to check out. It is about who stays the longest, who shows up when it is hard, who stays focused when it is quiet. That is what makes the difference. And once you lock into it, there is no limit to who you can become. Not because of hype, but because of habit. Not because you waited to feel inspired, but because you decided to show up anyway. That is what builds a life you can be proud of. It is honest. It does not disappear when things get tough. In fact, that is when it gets stronger. That is when it proves its worth. But when you act from discipline, you are in control. You dictate the pace. Tired of breaking promises to yourself? Make the shift. Choose discipline. Build the muscle. Repeat the actions. And trust the process. You build resilience, and that resilience becomes your power. When you act not because you want to, but because you said you would. And that relentlessness is what transforms you. Slowly, quietly, permanently. If you only move when you are motivated, your progress will be unpredictable. There will always be reasons to quit, always be temptations to skip. But the disciplined mind is trained to stay focused, to protect the mission, to honor the commitment. Do not wait for the feeling. Build the habit. Do not depend on energy. Depend on structure. Discipline is what turns vision into reality, what turns goals into outcomes. It is not flashy, but it is powerful. It is not loud, but it is relentless. So if you are tired of starting over, tired of depending on motivation, because in the end, it is not about who starts the fastest. Discipline is not just the answer, it is the key, the strategy, the path. That is why it works. That is why it lasts. That is why it wins.